Monday Night Wars Podcast.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Monday Night Wars. It's February 24th, 1997, and we are live with WCW Nitro in the Arco Arena in Sacramento, California. With me is Joseph Rojas. Joseph, how you doing, my friend?
I am great. And, Scott, how was your Valentine? I'm just joking. Is part of the same batch. So that was a callback exclusively for him. I'm good though, man. How you doing?
I'm excited to talk about this Nitro in Sacramento, which is where your humble host resides.
That's true. Should we mention that we now have the ability to start doing video, and we're going to be testing the waters with that?
We're going to try it, yeah. I figured maybe try with a pay-per-view first.
Ooh, that could be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be a bonus thing, then also we fuck it up. It's like,
yeah,
it is what it is. They might enjoy it.
Let's be real honest. We gonna fuck it up.
Absolutely. We do a professional podcast here. All right, it's professional.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about though.
Roll Tide.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I got a Pepsi here that I can crack the top open of, which you probably won't pick up on the mic because it's so damn good at that.
Yeah.
Even for comedic effect, it's good at getting that, blocking that stuff. But anyways, we're in Sacramento at the Arco Arena, which does not exist anymore. They tore that shit down.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm, it's gone.
What used to be like what like did the Kings play there or something?
I assume it was the name at the time of this what became known as the Sleep Train Arena, which is where the Kings played. I can Google it real fast and find out. Yep, it was the Sleep Train Arena. They tore that down. It's been gone for quite a while. I think they tore it down shortly before I got here. And it's just no, I take it back. It was there. It was there, but it was just this vacant thing up in like the north part of the city. And it was just weird. The whole thing was weird because it's just this big vacant lot. It was kind of in the middle. Like no one was doing anything with it. They were building some houses kind of places, but it was just dirt lots. They finally tore it down and they turned it into a big medical center. And the Kings moved downtown and now they play at Golden One. So yeah. So it's gone, but not forgotten. This is the story of Johnny Rotten. It's better to burn. Okay, anyways. Hour number one. That's Neil Young, everybody. Hour number one. Tony, Larry, Public Enemy versus Steve Mongo McMichael and Jeff Jarrett. Well, those are some odd bedfellows, don't you think there, Joseph?
They are, but if you listened to the podcast $2 a month and listen to our pay-per-view coverage of Super Brawl 7, you'd know exactly why they are bedfellows. Jeff Jarrett is now a member of the Four Horsemen after he beat Mongo. Mongo still hits Jarrett with the Halliburton, clearly on purpose, which is funny, and the Public Enemy win. Gene interviews the Horsemen, and he asks about why Mongo did what he did. Mongo says, everybody saw what he did last night. What do you do when your brother messes with you? You take them into the backyard and slap them around a little bit. Apparently, Mongo and my brother are the same person. Flair tries to cool down. Flair tries to cool down Mongo and says this is the only time that this can happen. He says they need to be team players. Arn says you people don't seem to get it. The Dungeon gets stronger. The NWO gets stronger. Luger and Giant are aligned, but the Horsemen get weaker. This is actually a really good point from Arn. Flair's hurt. I'm unwell. Benoit may never be back. Again, if you want to know why, you'll have to listen to the Patreon. Mongo says you don't. I've completely lost my track. He says, you guys are the only two members of the Horsemen that are healthy. You earned the spot. You and Mongo shake hands. Mongo says, I may mess with you, but nobody else better. Here's my hand. They shake hands. I expected to hate this more than I did, given recent Four Horsemen transgressions. However, Arn really made this whole thing work. I thought he did a very good job of outlining the current story of really it's 2 horsemen right now because everybody else is hurt. I liked it. I gave it a B.
Not the worst Horseman promo we've seen recently. So yeah, not bad. But if you would allow me,
Of course.
Joseph, I'd like to do a little math. So we've got Ric Flair,
Uh-huh.
Arn Anderson.
Yep.
Mongo.
Yep.
Jarrett.
Yep.
Chris Benoit.
Uh-huh.
That's 5.
That's 4.
Let me try it again.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Ric Flair.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'm doing it on my fingers now. Ric Flair.
I'll follow along with you. Okay.
Pinky, yeah, Ric Flair.
Uh-huh.
Then we've got Arn.
Uh-huh.
That's that one between the pinky and the middle finger. I don't remember what that one's called.
Okay.
And then we got
the ring finger.
Yeah, we'll go with that. And then we've got Mongo.
Uh-huh.
He's the middle finger because he should not be in it. Then we got Jeff Jarrett. He's the index finger.
Okay.
And then we've got Chris Benoit.
Uh-huh.
And that's the thumb. And all those together, I count 5.
That's 4.
Oh, okay.
There are 4 lights.
I just feel like there's a problem here. I feel like there's an issue. We've got a man too many.
I have one friend. I don't think he listens to the podcast, but he's a diehard Star Trek fan, and that joke he would have been so fucking happy about that.
Well, then he should listen to the podcast.
Absolutely, he should.
Tell him he's got to listen to 77 episodes
first before this one.
Yeah. So then he can get that reference. But after that, because I mean, we just kind of move on. We get Jim Duggan, which you know I'm about, versus let me put my peepers on. Galaxy. What is this about?
This is one of the luchadors that they're bringing over, just gonna have like available talent. Look, Hacksaw wasn't gonna lose his match. Mean Gene interviews him. He asks him about Macho Man. Hacksaw says that he shocked the socks off the wrestling world and off of Hacksaw. First it was Terry, now Macho Man. What's wrong with you people? He says they have all the money and power but black hearts. Hacksaw Jim Duggan will stand and fight. Hogan, you know I can beat your ass. Probably true. And Macho Man, stay out of my way. I'll trample you. Hogan, I won't come in the back door. If you want a piece of me, I'll kick down the front door. I thought that was going to get way dirtier than it did.
Yeah, especially with Hogan.
Yeah. Allegedly.
Yeah. I mean, there's videotape.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I honestly like this. I like what Hacksaw did. I mean, the match is the match. There's nothing really to it, and Hacksaw was obviously going to win. The promo is fine. The problem with this promo more than anything is that it's not going to mean anything.
Yes.
And so it's like, okay.
So, I mean, the match exists to give Jim Duggan this moment because they must have remembered that he did a really good promo when Hogan turned heel. Remember, we loved it. It was like the best one of anybody about, he knows Hogan. They've worked together for a long time. How could you do that? How could you do that to your fans, the kids who look up to you and all that kind of stuff? It was fantastic. It was so good. They kept doing it. They did it like 8 times with him. Remember that? They did it like over and over and over for like a couple of weeks. And so they must have just thought, like, remember how good that was? Let's do it again, but about Macho Man this time. The problem is, and again, I thought again it was a really good promo. The problem is, as you said, nothing is going to come of it. Because Hacksaw is a mid-carder. He is not a main eventer. Nothing will come of this. What is the point?
Yeah.
And that's the issue right now. Just the creative issues. Like, if you're going to do this, then push Duggan. Like, push him into the main event. Like, have him go at the NWO.
Or at least Mach. Yeah, like have him go against somebody, but whatever.
Yeah, just like have him have a run at the NWO. Have him something. But they're not going to do anything with it. So it's ridiculous. After that, though, we're told that you can listen to Nitro on the internet in Spanish or Japanese. So that's cool, I guess. And then we got Hugh Morris versus Joe Gomez. I'm not going to put my peepers on and disrespect Joe Gomez like that. But poor Joe Gomez. Tell me about this, Joseph.
Hugh Morris wins with the moonsault.
Well, that was easy.
That's all that happens.
I mean, it's sad because we kind of like Joe Gomez, but oh well.
He unfortunately a developmental talent. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. After that, though, we got Ted DiBiase and Six. They want us to buy an NWO jean jacket, which is very cool. I like it. It's $80. Buy it. There is shipping and handling, though. But you like this jean jacket? Tell me.
I do. It's a good jean jacket. I'm not going to buy it on the secondary market, though, because that shit's going to be expensive.
Yeah, it's not going to be $80.
Nope.
It's going to be $280.
Yeah.
If that. And then we got WCW Saturday Night. Face of Fear versus High Voltage. It's not bad. We like High Voltage. Public Enemy and the Amazing French Kings. We already saw that shit. Chris Jericho, Super Calo, Scotty Riggs. They're all there. It's exciting. And then we get some shots from the Benoit Sullivan match where they all died.
Yep.
I'm not going to tell you more about it. I'm just going to tell you they all died.
I don't know if you can say that.
Oh, shit. Because they all are dead, aren't they? I mean, it's true. It's factually true. They all did. I mean, Jacqueline's
still alive. She's still kicking.
But Chris and Kevin, God rest their souls. Do not.
Well.
Do not. Do not. You had your fun on the pay-per-view. People can listen to that. This is a children's program where I often say the F-bomb, but that doesn't matter.
Which we can bleep right now, but I just don't do it.
I mean, we've been dropping F-bombs on this thing the whole time. Like, we'd had the bleep the whole time. It might have been kind of fun to do it. But at this point, I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah,
but I do look at this kind of as the more, although we do drop F-bombs, the more kid-friendly F-bomb version of our show.
I get what you're saying.
The pay-per-views are more uncensored.
Like WCW uncensored?
Yeah, we're not. No. They're good. That's the difference. They're good. After that, though, we got Ice Train. Hell yeah! And La Parka. Oh, this is kind of my match, Joe. So tell me about this.
This is a fun match. Ice Train wins with the train wreck, which apparently is his new finisher. It's really just a standing splash. A lot of big guys done this. Mark Henry's done this. Ultimate Warrior did this. This was his finisher as well, except for he did the run and bounce off the ropes twice and then do it. A lot of guys do this. It's a fun match. It gets a C+ for me. There's no storyline. This is the second time we've had this match in, I think, the last month. But unfortunately, neither of these guys are going anywhere. So it's like, okay, it's a cool mid-card match for sure. But it's like, all right, well, can we do something with them? We'll see.
Yeah, La Parka does seem to get some. He eventually kind of gets a push when he starts doing the chair and all that, but he's not there yet. Yeah, so it's just two guys in the middle. This is your pee break match, I think, is kind of how they scheduled it. But we like the guys, and it was a good match, so it is what it is. Face of Fear, though. Well, again, Face of Fear versus Chris Jericho and Eddie Guerrero. Strange bedfellows yet again. What do you make of this?
This is a fun moment, personally, and you are correct in your assessment. It is strange bedfellows. Jericho falls outside while Guerrero is on the top rope, and Dean Malenko runs in and pushes Eddie off top rope into a big boot from the Barbarian for the win. If you want to know why Dean would do this, you'll have to pay $2 a month and listen to the Patreon. Gets a B+. Really enjoyed this.
And you are selling it. I'll also tell you, remember when I used to give you times and I'd say, oh, no, because I go on, as I've said all the time, I go on prowrestling.fandom.com. It's the wiki. They've got all the cards. They've got the times. Just real easy to get that kind of stuff. And for a long time, they were not giving me the raw times. Like, no one was bothering to sit there with a stopwatch and count them, right? And I respect that because it was garbage. What I've noticed is that there are no times for Nitro this week, but there are times for Raw.
Interesting.
And that tells me, does that tell me that we're not the only ones that are feeling like a shift is happening right now?
Maybe.
I tell you, I'm just saying. I'm just looking at the data. I'm just looking at the data. Hour number 2, Tony, Bobby, and Mike Tenay. And Mike Tenay needs to talk about this Macho Man Randy Savage business. He is disgusted, and he thinks WCW needs to have some answers. We got to do something. You got any thoughts on this? Mike Tenay is just calling for some action here.
I don't have any thoughts on this because much like many of the things that they've been doing on WCW right now, it doesn't fucking mean anything.
Well, you said it, man. And you're not wrong. And honestly, there's not a whole lot of story this week, at least not for the first half, because we just roll right into the next match. We got We got Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Juventud Caja.
This is, of course, a very fun, high-flying match between the two legendary cruiserweights. No story involved, like you mentioned, but after a series of major flippy shit, Rey hits the Rana, and it was over. Gets a B from me. Also, when you did the Guerrero thing, we while we're recording this, yesterday was Valentine's Day, and Jamie and I, we had a pretty decent sized drive to the restaurant we were going to. We went into San Antonio, and it was a little over an hour. So I said, do you want to listen to music? And she goes, I haven't listened to the most recent podcast. You should put that on, because big fan of the podcast, Jamie.
What a team player.
And so we put it on, and you did your Chavo thing. And she said, how do you not laugh every single time he does that? And I go, I do. It's just sometimes I have to let him have the moment and not scream laughter. But also, it is one of those things where that and the Guerrero thing, I've heard it so many times now, I'm numb to it. I love it. Keep doing it. It makes me happy.
That last one was good.
Yeah. I find that I laugh more if I listen to it after than I laugh in the moment. Because when it happened, I was crying laughing, but she couldn't believe I wasn't laughing on the episode. Because on the episode, I'm being a professional.
Bro, that's how we do it here.
Absolutely.
Jeez.
Roll Tide.
Anyways, tell me about this match, this cruiserweight match.
I already did.
Did you?
Yeah, I gave it a B.
Oh.
So there's no story involved. Major flippy shit. Rey hits the Rana, and it was over.
Maybe I had an aneurysm. I don't know.
Maybe.
Anyways, it's Lee Marshall. He's on the road. He's in Atlanta as promised last week. They got a party going in Atlanta, don't they, Joseph?
They do at Jackson Jill's, which, as we now know, is no longer there because Lee Marshall's not throwing nitro parties. He says as he gets ready to leave Atlanta, he's reminded of that wonderful movie, Gone with the Weasel. That classic Clark Gable movie that ends with Rhett Butler looking at Scarlett O'Hara and saying, actually, Scarlett, weasels can't build a dam. I laughed so fucking hard at this. This was this joke was exclusively written for me. It's an A+.
It was pretty good. All of them are good. They're so stupid that they're fantastic. I don't think people necessarily understand our humor, that we like really dumb shit.
Yeah.
And so that's why this is hilarious to us, because it's so bad, it's good.
Also, and you and I both really love old movies. And so this was if I don't know if I would call it pandering, but really pandering to us. And it was just perfect. The minute he said Gone with the Weasel, I was done. I was I don't care where this goes. I'm enjoying it.
After that, we got a World Television Championship match. They got the TV title on TV. I can't believe it. Prince Iaukea versus Pat Tanaka. I'm not going to put my peepers on because he's actually famous, even though he's here to job out.
That's true. And I also got so hyped thinking it was Goldberg, then got immediately let down when Pat Tanaka walked out. This is the second time they've done that to us, where Pat Tanaka comes out and he's got Goldberg's theme, but Goldberg's not around yet. Although later on in 97, I believe, is when he makes his debut, which is why I thought, is he already here? Especially because they're in Atlanta, all the fucking stars aligned, and it wasn't him, it was Pat Tanaka. Anyways, Iaukea wins with the diving crossbody. The match itself is fine. It gets a C.
Well, all right. We are rolling here because they're not doing much story. So we're just kind of rolling because we roll into our next thing, which is Dean Malenko versus Ultimo Dragon. This has got to be a hot one, though, right? Tell me it's hot.
Obviously, this is a great match, but Malenko has a new attitude and actually gets DQ'd by choking out Dragon past the 5 count. Gene then interviews Dean, and he says that he hasn't forgotten about 6 and the bad thing that he said about him and his father. He wants his title back, and he's going to get it. Technically, 6 never said anything bad about Dean's father. He actually said he respects him, just not Dean. But whatever. But he blames Eddie, and he isn't afraid of Eddie. He doesn't care anymore. Pretty quick promo from Dean. Pretty simple promo. I understand where he's coming from. It makes logical sense. And on top of that, him and Ultimo Dragon show out until he gets the DQ. And again, the DQ also makes sense for storyline reasons. I gave it a B+.
Yeah, overall, I thought this was good. This was good Dean Malenko, where he's just kind of telling it to us straight. And he's fed up. That's the whole point, right? He's fed up. He kind of just doesn't give a crap anymore. He's gotten the title stolen from him. He's been shown disrespect. He's gonna kick ass and take names until he gets the respect he deserves. And I like it. We're getting the Iceman Dean Malenko here, and I like it. After that, we got DDP versus Squire David Taylor. What do you think about this jobber match? A lot of jobber matches tonight.
It is a jobber match. DDP wins almost immediately when he picks up Dave Taylor in a fireman's carry and then flips him into a diamond cutter. This move would later be called the TKO by other wrestlers, including Scorpio Sky, who AEW misused his entire career. The outsiders surround the ring. They walk around to the other side and get on the apron. DDP doesn't see Mach come from behind, and he attacks DDP, and they all celebrate. A fan jumps into the ring to celebrate too, and Scott Hall and Mach beat the ever-loving shit out of him before security removed him. To be clear, good. Don't get in the fucking ring. You have no business there. I don't care if you're trying to celebrate. They don't know that. They don't know that you're trying to be a good dude. Get the fuck out of there. They spray paint DDP and hand Mach an NWO shirt, and he hits a diving elbow drop on a lifeless DDP. One of the few good things about Mach in the NWO will be this rivalry, so I'm giving it a B+.
But what I'm going to give an F to is this next segment.
I agree.
Because it builds on everything that you and I screamed about at the pay-per-view and how garbage it is. We come back from commercial. They're still in the ring. Hulk Hogan comes out. He says he's got a present for the Macho Man. It's Miss Elizabeth, who is just all smiles now.
Yep.
Yeah. And, and they just say, man, you're with us now. You're here for life. They also say that Sacktown is NWO territory. What'd you think of this? Sucked.
Oh my God. All right. Let's see. What do I have to say? Hall has a mic and he says, "Hey yo." And then welcome to another edition of NWO Monday Nitro, which I thought was good.
Yeah.
And then he says, now let's hear a big Sacktown welcome to the newest member of the NWO, Randy Savage. And oh yeah, the NWO, we don't stop there. We don't give you just one icon. The outsiders have hooked you up with another icon. You go, oh shit, is a new person coming? No, it's just Hogan. Hogan comes out, and like you said, he's got Miss Elizabeth. Hall asks Hogan about his feelings after last night's win. Hogan says the NWO is on a roll, which is technically true. The California crowd boos Hogan, which is absolutely because of his political beliefs and not because he's a racist, homophobic, conniving, dickless slop bucket of whatever was dumped on Sonny, garbage human being.
For the Patreon, young man. My God, this is a children's program.
So, hold on, real quickly, in kind of real time, when they did the Netflix first Raw, Hogan came out and got the shit booed out of him, and they were in LA, and he said later on, oh, it's a political thing. It was a political thing. Undertaker is incredibly conservative. Also came out. Undertaker is not only incredibly conservative and also had Trump on his podcast.
He endorsed Trump.
Went to the fucking Super Bowl with Vinnie Mac because they are boys, and I can't take that from him, regardless of my feelings on Vin Man. And the crowd cheered Taker, and we're still gonna cheer Taker because Taker, at the end of the day, is a good dude. If I don't agree with him, that's fine. Hogan's a bag of shit, and that's why he got booed. Anyways, Hogan continues. He doesn't want to cut the party short, but Mach should be justly rewarded, and the outsiders have a surprise for him. It's Miss Elizabeth. Like you said, she's smiling, blah, 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 blah. It makes no fucking sense. It's all bad storytelling. The two hug. Mach grabs a mic, and all he says is, sweet. Okay, whatever. Hall says, I actually am really annoyed by all this.
It's terrible.
Hall says all is well in the NWO because everyone knows when you're NWO for life. And like you said, he then says it's Sacktown is their territory. It's enough. It's bad. The whole thing is bad. It's just stupid.
I wonder if Mach likes this angle. The fact that, like you said, all he had to say was sweet. Like, it just doesn't make sense from a booking standpoint after everything the NWO has put he and Miss Elizabeth through, treating her and him like garbage for months. And now it's all good. We're good. Everything's fine. All smiles. It's crazy. And Hulk Hogan is putting the sack in Sacktown because he's a ball sack. I'm so mad. I'm so mad. What's going on Raw?
God.
I'm flipping the channel now. We don't need to make it. No. Let's talk about the main event, which is the World Tag Team Champions, Lex Luger and the Giant versus Harlem Heat. Tell me.
Bischoff comes out and says, just a minute, hold the phone here. The NWO come back out and surround the ring. We got a little problem here, but it's a real simple one to fix. Then he looks at Lex and he says, you, my friend, are out of order. Those belts belong to these two gentlemen right here. And he points to Hall and Nash. You did not have a doctor's release. You're not authorized to wrestle. You used your cast in the match. So, my friend, those belts belong right here. Right now, I want them. Then Lex says, whoa, Bischoff, not so quick, because you got to carry me out of here on a stretcher if we're just going to hand this over. I'm so sick and tired of your political positioning. Man, Lex, listen to the podcast. Your little moves here and there, you're swerving. How about this? I got a proposition for you. You're a risk taker. You're a gambling man. I'll hand this belt right over to you, to your boys here that you've been protecting. If at Uncensored, where anything goes, we put the whole enchilada on the line. Every single belt. I'm talking about Hollywood Hogan's title belt, the tag belts, every single belt in existence. WCW versus NWO. How about it? And Bischoff says, you want it, you got it, then screams, I want the belt, and Lex hands them over. This seems to be like it will be two teams at the pay-per-view. Sting then comes down to the ring. He walks in with his bat. He is in, I'm sorry, my notes are weird. He walks in with the bat. He's in the middle, and he looks at everyone, and he stares down Hogan. And then Hogan hugs him. Now, Sting does not reciprocate the hug. He just stands there in his hug. It's kind of like when Voldemort hugs Malfoy in Deathly Hallows. It's like that, kind of, except for Sting would be not spineless. He then stands on the NWO side, and they celebrate that Sting has joined them. I'm giving this an A because if you take this in the microcosm of this segment here, it's really well done. And what it should mean is that Uncensored, every single belt is on the line, and every single match is just like, Six versus so-and-so, Hogan versus so-and-so, Hall and Nash versus, that's what it should be, right? Instead, they're going to fuck the whole thing up. So it's an A right now, and I'm sure by next week I'll hate it.
I'm looking at the main event at Uncensored. Are all the belts even up?
Yeah, in that match.
But how?
They're doing the thing where it's like if your team wins, you get all the belts, and then you just decide who's the champion. They've done it before in wrestling. It sometimes works, sometimes it doesn't.
I don't like it. I don't care for it. But yeah, so, okay. Let's see what Raw's doing, because I think it might win this week, because that wasn't good. Next up, we got Raw. What a segue, huh? Because I don't know. I'm mad. I'm just mad. We got Raw. We are at the Manhattan Center in New York, New York. Man, this is WWF home turf. And things are kind of exciting here because we've got some intruders, but we're not quite there yet, right? We've got our own kind of NWO coming called the ECW, right?
Wow, way to give that away.
No, I mean, it's coming. But we're not, you're right. Okay. Forget that. I didn't say it, everybody. Just ignore it. Anyways, well, let's talk. Let's start it off. We start with a match, right? We got Goodwins, Godwins, and the Blackjacks. I don't care.
I know you don't, but that just made me laugh. Oh, man. Oh.
Tell me about it. Tell me about this match I don't care about.
That was like when they made The Godfather the Good Father.
Bro, that'd be good, though.
No, that'd be good wins. Anyways, the new Blackjacks are Barry Windham, no longer the Stalker, and Bradshaw, no longer Justin Hawk Bradshaw. Because Bradshaw was a heel very recently, the crowd chants Bradshaw sucks. Ken Shamrock is in the crowd from UFC. I wonder if that could be something big later on. It is, actually. Bradshaw hits the lariat on Phineas, and Wyndham pins him for the win, even though Phineas's foot is on the rope. Real quickly, it's called the lariat right now. It will become the clothesline of hell. It's just not that yet. Then the Godwins, or Goodwins, if you're Scott, they are mad about this because they should be, and so they slop the ref. It gets a C. It's fine. It's whatever.
It's a match.
Yeah.
But, you're talking about me spoiling the ECW stuff, and it starts right away.
Right after this. Yes, it does.
Yeah, we've already seen them in the audience. They're here, right? And then as soon as the match ends, the Eliminators,
Mm-hmm.
they jump the guardrail, and we got Paul Heyman with them. And
That's
he's got
true.
some shit to talk to Jerry the King, doesn't he?
He does. So, like you said, there's a ring attendant in the middle of the ring. This is a planned, staged person, some sort of wrestler that's going to job out this moment, but they're calling him a ring attendant. And John Cronus and Perry Saturn, the Eliminators, hit him with a combination spinning leg sweep from Saturn and a spinning heel kick from Cronus. This move is called the Total Elimination. It's a fucking great finisher. Paul Heyman runs in and shouts, "Your challenge has been accepted. ECW is in the house." I'm going to give that an A+. It's kind of its own thing. We cut to commercial. We come back, and Paul says, "Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Extreme Championship Wrestling, I give to you from the full-blooded Italians, Little Guido." Little Guido will also be known as Nunzio in WWE much later. I've always been a fan of Little Guido. I think he's great. And I think it's time to hit the music of Little Guido's opponent. Music hits, and the Blue World Order come out. The Blue Guy, Blue Meanie, Big Stevie Cool, Stevie Richards, and Hollywood Nova. Paul Heyman joins on commentary, and Stevie Richards has 3 words for Jerry the King Lawler: "We're taking over." Blue Meanie says, "Burger King man, say hello to the Blue Guy." Goldust has a picture-in-picture and calls ECW B movies. He tries to say more about Marlena, but it's really hard to hear him over the ECW crowd, who, by the way, has taken over the fucking show. Richard hits the jackknife and then tunes up the band for the Stevie kick, and he picks up the win. It gets an A+ from me. Real quick side note, he's not just tuning up the band as an insult to Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is actually who inspired Stevie Richards to become a wrestler. There's a lot of backstory about that, and apparently they didn't have some great interactions behind the scenes later on in their careers. Kind of unfortunate, but you can see it. I've always been a big fan of Stevie Richards. I loved every moment of this.
It's good. Yeah, it's good stuff, man. We got Raven in there too.
Well, in the crowd, yeah. But he's
Yeah,
not
I
in the
mean,
match. Yeah.
But we got Raven. So Paul Heyman, we've got the match, but Paul Heyman gets on the commentary with him. He and Jerry are going at it, which leads to this awkward thing where obviously the Blue World Order is mocking the NWO.
Yeah.
And there's this point where, who are you ripping off? And it just kind of leads to some weird silence. Like, right? Like that part was just kind of like, we can't talk about that.
Yeah.
There's legal reasons. And then Raven shows up, and we can talk about that. And so they talk about Raven's there, and it's fun. Like they're doing their own invasion storyline, and this goes on for a little bit. Ends up with kind of a WWF ECW pay-per-view that we're gonna have to talk about, I think.
Yeah, it's more of a Jerry versus ECW pay-per-view, but we are going to talk about it. Yes. So if you're wondering, when we get to that point, it will be on the Patreon. So you'll have to subscribe, $2 a month.
Yeah. And then we got the Honky Tonk Man. And people yell that he sucks.
This is the ECW crowd. They're ruthless.
Yeah, they're telling that Honky Tonk Man that he sucks. And he's out here for Sonny and Marlena, who are going to have an arm wrestling match.
Of course they are.
Boy, howdy. Give me the blow-by-blow on this one, Joseph.
I just want to say real quickly in regards to the ECW crowd, you're not wrong.
Wow.
I don't like Honky Tonk Man. This is stupid, and it ends with Goldust and Savio Vega fighting each other, which makes perfect sense given Goldust and Hunter Hearst Helmsley's feud. I gave it an F. This starts a very funny trend that I will talk about later on because Paul Heyman mentions it and it's phenomenal.
All right. Well, that leads us into, what does that lead us into? Our match, right?
Yeah. Goes into a match.
Which is Goldust and Savio Vega. Why? I don't know, but tell me about it.
Miguel Perez is on commentary to condemn Savio Vega. We haven't met Perez on Raw at all, so okay, that makes perfect sense. The Nation ultimately interfere and Goldust wins via DQ. Miguel Perez runs in to save him. Okay. Match itself is fine, I guess. I gave it a C-. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I think Miguel Perez is going to join Los Boricuas. I think that's what's going to happen like many, many moons from now, but all right, he's here now.
Yeah, I kind of don't know what's really going on this week, and I don't think they necessarily know what's going on either. There's a lot of things that they're trying to make work here that kind of don't work. I generally like this ECW invasion angle, but it's kind of a mess, I feel, because they're trying to have storylines like in between the storyline. Because you're right, like I guess they're trying to like make Miguel Perez a thing, but he doesn't really become a thing at all, and then ultimately ends up joining Savio Vega, and it seems like here he's here to not like Savio Vega.
I think it's just simply the wrong week to have done this.
Yeah, just kind of let the ECW thing take it.
Yeah.
After that, though, we got an interview with Ken Shamrock and Jerry the King, and yeah, Ken Shamrock he's not really good on mic.
Yeah, kind of. So this really kind of starts as more Jerry says they're friends and that they used to work out together. Then Ken says, "You're kidding, right? I don't even know you." Jerry takes credit for teaching Ken his submission holds like he takes credit for ECW, and then Ken calls him a liar. It gets a D. I honestly think it gets a D more because of Jerry than it does because of Ken, because Ken will actually do a pretty interesting interview later on that made, and it's in this same night, that made you and I go, wow, Ken Shamrock's not bad on the mic. And then we were wrong about that.
Yeah, every once in a while. Well, again, Ken is one of these guys where kind of like Brett, kind of like Dean Malenko, where they're kind of a just the facts kind of guy. Quick, this is what I'm going to do to you. I'm a technician. I've got it all planned out. Done. And we're done. When he does that, great. When he doesn't do that, terrible. After that, though, we got Taz versus Mickey Whipwreck.
Whoa, Mikey Whipwreck.
I don't know ECW. I'm with Jerry on this, okay? I know Taz because he shows up on WWF. This dude don't show up on WWF.
I'm trying to think, does Mikey Whipwreck, I mean, he's on the WWE ECW, I think. I don't know if he ever does have a run in WWF. Anyways. Paul Heyman says, man, has this show sucked without ECW. He ain't wrong, though. I love Taz. Taz is one of my favorites. He's not in my top 10 or 20 or anything like that, but I just really enjoy him. I always loved him as a commentator as well. That's really kind of, this, when I was watching wrestling, Taz was a commentator like growing up. And so he's really like near and dear to my heart. So yeah. Anyways, Farouk gets a picture-in-picture and says he will beat The Undertaker. Then he talks about Ahmed Johnson from the street or not, and this will go on for a millennia. I'm not joking. It really will. During the match, Sabu shows up on top of the R at the Raw set and falls off into security. Taz then wins with the Taz mission. The match itself was fine. I didn't like the picture-in-picture, and the Sabu stuff was unintentionally funny. It gets a C+ for me.
And Vince himself calls him Mickey Whipwreck. I see that in my notes here now at the end. So that's his WWF name. So I'm not wrong. So there you have it.
But they got so much water.
They got so much content though. They just keep rolling. Now we got the Headbangers versus the Legion of Doom.
Yeah.
And this is a wild match. We also get Nitro sucks and Bischoff sucks chants because these dudes are just off the rails tonight. It's crazy. Yeah.
When I saw the Headbangers, I was like, I'll win for them because they've been winning lately. They've been going against jobbers. And then Legion of Doom came out and I was like, well, Jerry and Vince talk about bands they believe. Jerry and Vince talk about bands they believe the Headbangers like. And they both sound like that Steve Buscemi like hello fellow kids meme. You know what I mean? He's got like the skateboard on his back. It's just ridiculous. The ECW crowd chants this show sucks. The match ends in a double count out, and then it just kind of goes nowhere. I'm giving it a D.
It's a wild night.
Yeah.
It's a wild night. And then they do a Sean promo, and I feel like tonight with this crowd, maybe not a great idea to be doing this, this Sean emotional thing.
The crowd's not going to see it because this is just for TV. They don't have like Titantrons and things like that.
That's true. They don't have the Titantron.
Yeah.
Well, and this arena is kind of weird though. Like we actually really like this. I don't think we've even talked about it yet. That this Manhattan Center, is it called the Manhattan Center? Yeah, Manhattan Center. It's a cool kind of old school arena. A lot of like a theater, lots of woodwork, kind of a fancy ornate stage. It's kind of a cool place, but yeah, not a place you put a Titantron.
Yeah. Also, I'm pretty sure that this is where. Yes, this is where the very first Raw episodes were ever at, was the Manhattan Center. In general, Manhattan Center also not the same, but kind of, but different. ECW Arena, which is also essentially just like a theater. I really like these venues for wrestling. They're a lot of fun because they're so intimate, and that can make for some really, really fun moments. But yeah. It's a great place, but you can't have the Sean promo on it. Like they're not going to see any of that. So it's fine for the program. The crowd's not going to see it.
Well, what did you make of it?
It's whatever. It doesn't really do anything. I mean, it's more of just kind of like a status update than anything. So it's just kind of, all right. Like it doesn't move any stories or anything.
He's coming back. Maybe. That's kind of it. After that, though, we get some more ECW guys. We got a Tony Dreamer.
Now you're just being an ass.
With a woman Beluga, and then some other guy I've never heard of, Devon Dudley. I don't know. 4 minutes 28 seconds. What do you make of these people I've never heard of? I know all of these people, for the record.
So Jerry says Paul Heyman should get down on his hands and knees and kiss his feet. Tommy Dreamer hits Devon over the head with a frying pan, then over the back with the cane. Real quickly, before I go on in this, I love Tommy Dreamer. I've always loved Tommy Dreamer. He's, again, like Taz, not in my top 10 or 20, probably in my top 100 somewhere if I really go down that list. But on the other end, we got Devon Dudley. Devon Dudley, maybe not his solo run, even though I quite liked the Reverend Devon character. But the Dudley Boys are easily top 5 tag team, like personal tag team. They are arguably the greatest tag team of all time. Yeah, love the shit out of those guys. Anyways, moving on. Dreamer suplexes Devon outside and sets up the steel steps on the apron. He baseball slides the steps into Devon's face. Jerry keeps saying they're doing wrestling anytime there's a weapon use, downplay their abilities. The assumption is basically that all they can do is hit each other with weapons. They can't actually wrestle. And the funny kind of ironic part of this is that Devon's actually like a very talented wrestler, like pure wrestler. And he went to ECW because it was a way to get on screen. He actually had no intention of doing the hardcore stuff. But this was an outlet for him to kind of make it work and hopefully a jumping point to WWF. So it's really funny that he's saying this during a match with Devon Dudley because Devon Dudley is a phenomenal in-ring wrestler. Anyways, Devon hits Dreamer over the head with the chair. Jerry says he's never been ashamed of being a wrestler until he saw what ECW was about. Again, Jerry's never liked ECW. Devon and I believe Sign Guy Dudley, I beueve is what his name is. There's a number of like random Dudley boys that are not the famous 3, really. So Sign Guy Dudley start grabbing at Beulah McGillicuddy, who later becomes Tommy Dreamer's real life wife. At this point, I don't think they're together. They might be, but they're not married for sure. Beulah low blows. Real quickly. Tommy Dreamer comes from behind with a steel chair, but Devon pulls her in the way, which makes Dreamer relent. Beulah low blows Devon, and Dreamer hits the DDT on the chair for the win. Meanwhile, Taker is being interviewed picture in picture, and we can barely hear him over this crowd. The entire time this match was going on, Jerry and Paul Heyman are arguing, which is honestly kind of hilarious. It takes away from it a little bit, but you kind of understand why. Bubba Ray Dudley runs in and attacks Dreamer. He and Devon hit the 3D Dudley Death Drop on Dreamer, arguably the greatest tag team move of all time. In fact, I'm not going to argue about it. It is the greatest tag team move of all time. The Sandman runs in and chugs a beer and crushes the can on his head because he's Sandman and he fucking better do that. He begins to take out the Dudleys with chair shots as he and Dreamer celebrate. Heyman plugs his upcoming pay-per-view and goes to leave when he rips off his coat and charges at Jerry. Vince and the ECW roster separate the two men as we head to commercial. I enjoyed every moment of this. It is as close to a real ECW match as you can get on WWF. It's very toned down for ECW, but still great. There is storylines going on. There's a lot of fun, and I gave it an A+.
More than the Doomsday Device?
Doomsday Device is up there. I still way prefer the 3D.
All right. Okay. All right. Write us if you disagree. I want to know. I want everyone to tell Joseph he's wrong. Anyways, I actually kind of liked the Heyman Lawler stuff. I think like Jerry's doing a pretty good job of selling for ECW on this. Like, he's just annoying. Like, the ECW fans probably love that, right? Just how angry he is and how they're not real wrestlers and all that stuff. Jerry might be a bag of shit, but he's willing to sell for people, and I feel like he's doing a pretty good job selling just his disgust right now. And I think he
will always do what he's told at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I think, to be fair, I think a lot of his disgust is genuine because he does not like ECW. I think he really thinks some of the stuff he's saying. And then after that, though, I mean, because they keep going. I mean, because Jerry and Paul Heyman keep going, and Jerry tells him just to get the hell out of here. I'm done with you. Paul Heyman tries to jump him, and all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
Every wrestler in ECW comes out to fight. It's wild. Tell me about it.
I already did tell you about it.
Oh, I was watching the Doomsday Device. I'm just thinking, this dude's out of his damn mind. It's just we can cut that part.
I mean, it's so much funnier if it stays in, though.
Save it for the blooper roll. We used to do bloopers.
Yeah, that's a good point. We could.
Anyways, have we talked about Todd Pettingill interviewing Ken Shamrock?
We have not.
Well, why don't you talk about that then, Mr. I've already talked about everything.
So Ken introduces his wife, Tina, and his dad, Bob. Todd asks for a prediction between Sid and Taker at Mania. Ken says he thinks Taker has a little more technical ability, and it will give him an edge. He is asked about the submission match between Bret and Austin. Ken then says that Bret Hart has a lot of skill, but Austin has no quit in him. So it's a toss-up. Todd presses the matter, and Ken says that he cannot choose. Like, he really can't. Now, this whole interview, Ken Shamrock is effortless. He is speaking facts. It really works within what he knows, being a UFC guy, about technique and things like that, and some of the stuff that kind of crosses over between both of these companies. And it works really well. This will not translate to his career in WWF. But for this moment, I'm giving it an A. I think he does an excellent job here.
So Todd Pettingill and Ken Shamrock do an interview. Tell me about it. Oh, sorry. I was watching Steinerizer videos and just thinking you were out of your damn mind. Another great tag team finisher.
Hold on. I can give you the freaking the Legion of Dooms move. I can't give you the Steiners, bro.
You don't like the Steinerizer?
Over 3D, get out of here.
Whoa.
It's not a question of like, it's a question of over 3D. I still think 3D is better than all the moves, but I can give you Legion of Doom, Road Warriors. I can't give you Steiners.
Oh my God. Write him letters. It's so disgusted. I can't even think straight.
If you come at me with heart attack, get the fuck out of here.
I'm going to pick, while you're telling me about this next match, I'm not going to pay attention. I'm going to think of another one. Anyways, tell me about Farouk versus The Undertaker.
I like that. Good reference. Farouk calls Shamrock a cat fighter and says he isn't a man. Shamrock says Farouk can't fight one-on-one, which is true so far. He says, a man stands on his own 2 feet, but Farouk has 2 left feet. I liked that line too. He says he will step in the ring if it's one-on-one. Then Taker begins the match. Taker attacks D'Lo Brown before going after Farouk. This match is a long, plodding, boring affair. Taker falls outside as D'Lo lowers the ropes. Farouk comes at Taker with the steel steps, but Taker boots them in his face. The Nation attacks Taker, but Legion of Doom come to the rescue as we close out the show. I liked the post-match kind of stuff. I liked Ken Shamrock and Farouk trading barbs. The match itself was kind of meh. I gave it a C.
Better than the Heart Attack?
I already beat you to that one.
I know. I couldn't really think of any other ones. Let's see. What else should I do? Better than the Heat Seeker?
There's poetry in motion. That's a good one.
That's
it's not
a
a finisher, but it's a good one.
Yeah. Let's see. What we got any other ones? Write us letters. Tell us your favorite tag team finisher. I'm curious what other people think.
Yeah. I wish people would talk about their opinions. You don't have to just you don't have to take ours as law. It's not. You can be like, hey, I think you're wrong about this, and here's why. And we'll talk about it on the podcast.
Especially when I disagree with Joseph, because then you need to send letters telling us that I'm right and he's wrong. Especially when that happens. All right. So who won?
I think
that's it, right? I mean, that's it,
yeah,
right?
No, that is it. Yeah. Is there a way where I can say neither?
I mean, yeah, why not?
Because I loved the ECW stuff, but the show itself was very sloppy. We kind of talked about that.
It's a mess. Yeah.
Yeah. And Nitro wasn't much better, but also had good moments too. So it's like, it's a draw.
Yeah. Let me, I mean, I guess you could say no one won. I'm trying to think, because Raw was a mess, but overall fun. I honestly might give it to Raw, and I'll tell you why.
Okay, I'm listening.
Because while Raw was a mess, I think overall I had a better time watching it because a lot of WCW was a lot of the jobber stuff we're always seeing. And then we have the storyline, this Macho Man, Miss Elizabeth storyline that I loathe. And nothing on Raw, the mess on Raw does not compare to how bad that storyline is to me. So I think I'm going to give it to Raw.
That's a very fair point. The other day we were talking about what's the worst contract in baseball history, and you posed Anthony Rendon versus Chris Davis. And my argument initially was that Chris Davis technically has a lower career WAR. It's actually a negative career WAR during the tenure of his contract than Anthony Rendon, who has a technically positive career WAR, but it's not very impressive. It's lower than 5, lower than 3, I think. So technically, based off of just that, Anthony Rendon's contract is still a little better, but you were arguing it wasn't. And I kind of sat on it for a little bit, and then I thought about Anthony Rendon's off-the-field behavior, not just his on-the-field behavior, and his being a dick to reporters, his fighting fans, his literally coming out and saying he doesn't care about the game. And I went, you know what? Chris Davis was a class act the whole time, so you're right. So you know what, Scott? You're not wrong in this. I'm going to give it to Raw.
And there you have it. I mean, Chris Davis showed up to work. That's more than you can say for Anthony Rendon.
That's true.
So I give the man just that because he grinded it out. He took it. And Anthony Rendon just fakes illnesses because I don't believe this dude's hurt.
No, he's fucking lying for sure.
Yeah. He turned over. He looked at his calendar. He saw pitchers and catchers reports circled. And he said, I don't want to do it this year.
He rubbed his Fu Manchu and said, that don't work for me, brother.
Absolutely, man. Is Anthony Rendon the Hulk Hogan of MLB? Tell us. Send us letters. Let us know.
I mean, I don't know if he's racist. Maybe Tyke.
Whoa. I don't know. But yeah, Raw wins. Because it's just, I don't like what they're doing the match.
I agree.
Or Piper, for that matter.
Dude, you're going to get me so mad again if we start talking about
they're just running on fumes. They're running on fumes. And I feel like even though WWF is a mess, they're trying stuff. And some of it's missing, some of it's sticking, but the gears are turning and they're going in a direction that we're really going to love. So it's Raw.
There you go.
Right. That's it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing if you're a Patreon subscriber. And if you're not, what are you doing? What are you doing?
I mean, I've given you so many reasons this podcast to listen to the Patreon.
Buy it.
Buy it. Hey everybody, it's Joseph. And guess what? Not only can you listen to us every Monday on Spotify, but you can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and YouTube Podcasts as well. Just search for Monday Night Wars Podcast. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us on Twitter at MON Night Wars Pod, on Instagram at Monday Night Wars Podcast, or just email us at mnwpodcast@gmail.com. And finally, subscribe to our Patreon at Monday Night Wars Podcast. For $2 a month, you get every pay-per-view from WCW and WWF during this era, as well as additional content later on. Once again, thank you for listening. We'll see you here next time on the Monday Night Wars Podcast.